everybody.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Welcome to all of our listeners. You are listening to What If Nothing Is Wrong With You. Today we have such a fun show because we got audience participation and we asked you to share your favorite and most hysterical therapist horror stories. And we're going to share some of these. And I think going forward, Lisa and I have decided we are going to have this be a regular section, a regular thing on our show. Maybe in between Chit Chat and the main event and the entree, we will add in a little therapist horror story. A little aperitif, right? A little amuse-bouche.
And a palate cleanser.
Exactly. Right? I think we will. Because these are amazing. And you guys delivered, and we are so grateful. We are so grateful.
These were hard to read. I had to take some deep breaths.
I had to take some deep breaths as well. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So we're going to share our favorites today. And then going forward, I think we're just going to share one every episode. By the way, I am Paula Atkinson.
I am Lisa KKs.
And this is our friend Jamaica, our friend and producer extraordinaire. All right. So let's get into some chit chat. Lisa, what have you been doing besides everything?
I joined the adult swim team at my pool.
I love this so much.
It's very strange because I wrote an essay like a decade ago when my child was born, expressing my anger that like we don't have adult sports anymore.
Yes.
And it's really like you and I have talked about, it's really the adults that need the sports, not the children. The children just run around instantly anyway. It's like just the adults that need the sports.
Yes.
And I tried to find an adult swim team I've been looking actually at all the pools around me. I looked at Masters Swimming, and the last one I found, I called and I was like, so, this is the only time I can go. I'd really love to do it. I'm just confused because it says that you swim outside all year, and I'm wondering when it goes inside and if the time changes. And they were like, oh no, we swim outside year round. And I was like, I'm sorry, we live in Maryland. What are you talking about?
No. What are you talking about?
Though at my pool, right in my backyard, they have developed a master swim team for the grown-ups in the summertime.
Yes.
And I go, and I think the children coaching us are like, I think they might be able to drive, unclear.
They cannot drink.
I'm in the beginner lane, which to be clear is for the people who barely can make it through the practice without drowning. So if anyone goes fast during the practice, I ask them kindly to go to the intermediate or the advanced lane next time.
Get in another lane. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just a bunch of very young children terrified of us going, I just have a note. Could I give you a note?
That's awesome. That's so cute.
And they play the best Gen X playlist. I don't know how the children know.
Oh,
but
they went on Spotify and they were like, what do these old people listen to?
Yes. And the REM, I'm like, what is this deck music? So anyway, they bring the vibe. They keep us from injuring our shoulders.
Yes.
It is delightful. So now I'm on the adult swim team and I've never been more hungry in my life.
You keep saying that, and every time you say it, I'm like, I just remember, I don't know if you remember this, Jamaica, but like, do you remember how hungry you would be after you played in the pool all day? Or there's like a specific kind of ravenous that only happens after you have been in the water and you can eat everything. Yeah.
And it can only be fixed by Cheez-Its.
Yes.
That's what I feel like is true when you're
peanut
young.
Butter and jelly.
As an adult, the Cheez-Its don't do it. But when you were young, I remember it was like a specific kind of hunger, and it would only be fixed by like an entire box of Cheez-Its or Pringles.
Pringles. Hell yeah. Pringles. And then I can smell the chlorine like mixed with the peanut butter and jelly. And then I want to lay in the sun on the concrete. Oh my God. Yes. Amazing.
So anyway,
amazing.
I'm on the swim team. We don't have any meets, so I cannot let you know if I've won anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. I think that's great. I told you my partner is now on the LGBTQ plus allies hockey team in Palm Springs, California, and he's having so much fun. Sports teams are for grown-ups.
I love it. If anyone has venture capital out there, I want to develop a place where you take your children to do the gymnastics, and next door is a place for the adults to be doing gym things. So
tumbles.
I'm unclear about why anyone hasn't developed this yet.
Why can't the grown-ups tumble?
Yeah, why can't I do yoga or run the track while my children are doing their parkour. What in the world? Why?
I want a very strong man to help me do a back handspring. That'd be great. I want to do that.
You can do that. They have the adult gymnastics here.
Oh.
I've watched it and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'm like, how are they? I don't know. But they will teach you to do that.
That's
I
awesome.
will not. Yeah, you could JVN it all the way.
Okay, my continuing list of things that everybody else watched or read 6 to 7 years ago, and I just got into it, and I'm like, this is amazing. The Righteous Gemstones is a television show on HBO. It is starring Danny McBride, who you may remember. I don't know if you ever watched the show Eastbound and Down, which was brilliant about 10 years ago, I think. Danny McBride is this brilliant actor, comedic actor, who is so good at playing a dumb, misogynist man who's in on the joke, like white, straight, cis man who's in on the joke. His character on Eastbound and Down was amazing. So The Righteous Gemstones is about a gajillionaire Christian family in the South who's like the pastors or whatever, like a mega church kind of thing. John Goodman, who is my forever boyfriend because he's Dan Connors, and he is the reason why I wanted a partner who was fat and funny. Can you imagine if I had not had a partner who was neither fat nor funny? How terrible! So Dan Connors forever. And he plays the main guy, Eli Gemstone, and he's so good. And then it's Danny McBride plays the eldest. But the best part of this show is this woman named Edie Patterson, who plays Judy Gemstone. She, Lisa, you and I are improv dorks. She is, you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, but I can tell when an actor is like an actor and when somebody is just like an improv dork. People don't realize the beauty. I mean, you do if you love Amy Poehler, and you do if you love Will Ferrell, and you do Tina Fey, like all these people who are like the improvisational dorkness like oozes out of them, and it's so fucking brilliant. This woman, who plays Judy Gemstone, she's the most horny, awful, selfish, emotionally immature. It's so good. Some of her lines are just... I can't say that, they're just so funny. This woman is an improvisational genius. She's a comedy genius. I want her to win all of the Emmys. I'm like, how has she not won all of the Emmys already? Whenever she's on the screen, you can't not look at her. It's brilliant. So Edie Patterson for life. Watch The Righteous Gemstones. It is so good. If you need like a laugh out loud funny.
I do. Sounds like what I need.
Carla was saying, which I think is great, they are not making fun of faithful people, which I appreciate. Like, it's just so easy for, the liberal whatever to make fun of people who go to church. Like, that's not funny to me. I respect people's faith, and I expect when people are faithful. They're making fun of the evil, like, billionaire family who's taking advantage of the faithful. And that, I think, is a delicate balance that they do really well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That sounds intriguing. I will check it out.
4 seasons, and I know that Megan Mullally is on one of the last 2 seasons, who is Karen from Will and Grace, but is also in a million things. She's also an improv genius. So
yes,
she's coming.
Thank you for telling me who she is, because I love her, but I would not have
you
known
would not
who
have
that
known her
was. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then we have a therapy update.
So this is going to be our transition into the main event.
Right.
Because my therapy update is, because Paula and I thought it was very important for people to experience this, at least.
Yes.
Is I've been in therapy for like 6 months. It was delightful and it helped. And so then I hung up from my last call and I was like, oh, I think I'm done. Like, I don't have symptoms. We didn't really have anything to talk about. I was like, I sort of want my summer. I don't really want to do this. And, and I hemmed and I hawed and I was like, oh, I guess because as therapists, we are indoctrinated into you must have a termination session to end the therapy. And for a therapist to not do that is like the most egregious crime you can commit.
How dare you?
But I've gotten to a place where I was like, I don't want to. And I didn't feel like we had that kind, she was a very good therapist, but we didn't have like that sort of relationship. Like, I felt like this is fine. I'll just say you cured me. Good job. Like, did some great work.
Yeah.
Got a lot of clarity and I'm good now. And then I thought, no, you can't do that because then she's going to know. And then it's a therapist thing and my reputation and whatever. Finally, I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care. So I sent the email and I was like, this has been so helpful. And thank you so much. And I think I'm done for now. And I was bracing. Even though I knew she was probably not that kind of therapist. Like,
yeah,
based
she's
on
cool.
a lot of things. But I was bracing for, you know, the email that I was trained to send and that I have seen people receive and that I've probably sent years and years ago. You know, the whole like, you have to have a termination session and how can we, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you're not doing respect to your therapy. Oh my God, all the ways.
Oh my God.
And instead, what I got was a delightful, I'm so glad this was helpful for you.
Amazing.
I'm so glad that you got what you needed. And of course, if you ever need a booster, just call me up and we can do that. And I was like, oh my God.
Right? It can be that easy.
Who knew? Because we are not. So anyway, I just wanted to say,
love,
as we've said before, you can quit therapy by email.
Of course you can. You can also, I mean, listen, you get to do whatever you want. You are the paying customer. You are the person. And this is what I said to you on the polo. Like, I hate the idea. I am not so presumptuous that I am going to say precisely how you are allowed to say goodbye to me, the person you are paying for a service. Like, who the fuck am I? Can you imagine?
And that's what it came down to. I was like, I don't want to pay $200 to like to have a conversation I don't need to have.
That could be summed up in 2 sentences in an email.
Yeah, and then when you go through this as a therapist, and I think I get the whole termination thing from an attachment perspective. I mean, kind of. And I think there is a way that a lot of it, if it is not in the client's interest, and they will know if their work is, I need to learn how to say goodbye to somebody. I need to like learn. They will. I believe that the person will do that, and they will want that. But like that, a lot of it is really about the therapist and their ego and wanting the, like when you start watching, I watched how I was talked to about this as a trainee and how it's often about, I need a chance to get you to not leave because that serves me.
And that's grody.
And that would happen a whole lot. And
totally.
And I was just like, I can't anymore.
Good.
So anyway, I said she was a liberatory therapist. She was till the very end.
She lived up to that. Yay.
We also saw each other at happy hour, and that didn't have to be a whole thing either. So there was.
Wait, you didn't have to process that for 10 years?
She was like, "Do we need to process this?" And I was like, "I thought we did, but I realized at that, like, it's fine. We are adults. It's fine."
That's the thing was like, well, good. And that is a beautiful segue because what I wanted to say before we dive into our entree of therapist horror stories is we're not doing this because we want to just bash therapists. No. What we're trying to remind you all, and I think this whole podcast is trying to remind you of 2 things. Number 1, there's nothing wrong with you. Number 2, therapists are just people. We're just fucking people. And I know we did go to school for some stuff. A lot of that stuff is completely outdated and archaic at this point. And we're just people. And so we're not trying to bash them or in any way. There are so many incredible, brilliant, amazing therapists out there. I do this. I want to do this to poke fun of the whole thing because I do think our job is so weird. And I do think a lot of therapists take themselves and the job so seriously. And when you remember that seriousness is a very low vibration, and that like for me to assume, again, like if somebody wants to break up with me, some of my clients, you know, I've had people just not show up. Okay, they're allowed to do that. Love and freedom are the same vibration. If I love my client, they're allowed to just fuck off and never talk to me again. They're allowed to do that. And for me to say like, no, you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way, who the hell am I to say?
Yeah. And I think part of what I also feel like is important is that and to be clear, a lot of these mistakes Paul and I are about to read, I can see myself in. Like, totally. So somebody can also be a brilliant therapist while they are also a terrible one because people are different.
And people are
And
people.
I think where I look back and I'm like, oh, that was cringe. That was when I was following the manual of this is what you always do.
Right.
without keeping in mind people are very different, and like
Absolutely.
how someone needs to say goodbye. Somebody could even need to say goodbye one way to a therapist in time, and and then 5 years later, like with me, it might look very different. What is
Oh,
healing
totally.
and what is their sort of learning growth curve or
Right.
learning curve. But what we are trying to poke fun at is not these. I mean, some of these individual therapists we are
I
just
am
going to
poking
take
fun at.
down because
Or take the
they
piss
did
out of
things
them.
that were just not okay.
Sure.
But a lot of it is, I think, therapists feeling like I was trained and this is the way and this is what I am supposed to do, and we don't see
Wild.
or give room to the individuals in front of us and be like, what is actually healing
Right.
for this person, which might be an email or even
Raging-
ghosting you.
Ragingly different from
Yeah.
person to person. And the
Yeah.
idea that everybody, I mean, medical doctors are not like everybody gets cured by this medicine. Medical doctors are like, this medicine isn't working. We'll try a different medicine. Right?
This
like,
one has side effects for some people. Like
exactly. So yeah. Okay. And so our first story, and I wanted to read this one because this was I know the person who submitted this one, and this was told to me in real time, in my face, in real life. And it's one of my favorites. And this is such a good example of like, maybe for somebody this was appropriate. A lot of these things I'm about to report were appropriate, but for my friend who submitted this, it was so inappropriate, and the therapist was not picking up what my friend was putting down. And that's a lot of these are that the therapist is not picking up on the cues, is not listening. It's just like following the manual of this is what a therapist must do in their head instead of actually paying attention. Okay, so this is not me, I am reading this. Quote, when I was considering getting divorced, I saw a therapist who lived not too far from where my ex was born, and some of his family still lived. My therapist started off being a good sounding board, but then started to give me her opinion a lot. This continued on and off, but then culminated with my therapist calling my current husband a fucking asshole, which he was, but that's not the point. Also saying something about my ex's stepmother, who I had never mentioned before in therapy. I suspected that my therapist knew my current husband's family, and she slipped up a few more times when my therapist said something about my husband's father. She kept telling me to divorce my husband and that things would only get worse. Again, she was right, but she was not listening to me, and she was not picking up that I wasn't ready to divorce him. I started to feel judged that I wasn't filing for divorce fast enough for her. Then the pandemic hit, so I stopped going. I ran into her in a grocery store, and both of us had masks on, so I didn't recognize her. She came up to me and loudly said in the aisle, "It's blank, from therapy." And she tried to give me a hug.
This has happened to me, the last part.
Really?
In the Rite Aid on U Street. Yep. And I had a friend with me, and I was forced to like introduce the friend to the therapist. It was so wildly inappropriate. Yeah. Just like, no. I'm just like, guys, like what?
Okay. So first of all, there's so many things wrong with this. Number one, that the therapist did not disclose that the therapist was familiar with her husband's family and knew things about, right? Like you can't, that's ridiculous. If you do know them, you can just shut up. And then
disclose that you know them
that,
so
like,
that it's clear.
Exactly.
And the person can consent to staying in therapy with you.
Right. The other part of this, and I have this all the time where in my head, I have a client who's like, and then my partner, my husband, my wife did this, and then she did this, and then she did this. And yeah, a lot of times in my head, I'm like, oh my God, you have to leave this person. But I am not going to say that unless the person, a lot of times we're not ready. Raise your hand if you've never been in a situation where on some level of your consciousness, you have to end it, but you're not ready to end it. Of course, we've all been there. And so if I'm just rush in and I'm like, you have to divorce this person, that's not kind, that's not loving, and that's not respectful of where the person is. And then lastly, if you're in therapy, and this happens a lot, and one of our friends from DC teaches courses on this, Michael G, about running into people because like in a lot of queer circles, if your therapist is gay and you're gay, you might both be in P-Town at the same time, right? And that happens a lot. So that should be a conversation. If I don't see people in person right now, but if I did in my small town that I live in, I would say, I might see you. Actually, my client and I just were both at Coachella, and she was like, "What happens if I see you?" And I said, "That's up to you. You get to decide. I don't decide that. You are in charge. If you want to come up and say hi, great. If you want to pretend you've never saw me, great. That is not I'm not in charge of that.
Because I don't know who you're with. You could be with your boss. You could be with somebody you're having an affair with. I don't know who you're with. Like, you could be with your coworkers. Like, I will pretend I've never seen you in my life. I will shake your hand and act like I am being introduced to you. And you will be like,
you decide.
But because if you want to come up to me, that's fine. I don't mind.
Of
but
course.
like, I will never out you in
No.
public, because I don't know. Even I could even think you're alone and somebody comes up behind you. And I talk about this with my groups too. Like, even in my groups,
Yeah.
they talk about, like, what do we do if we see each other in public? And typically it's like, probably kind of, I mean, you can low key wave, but like, if somebody's acting like they don't, because it forces somebody to explain you
Out
and then
themselves.
if you're not a good liar and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah. So if you're seeing a therapist and you haven't had that talk and you live in the same town with them or whatever, yes, you get to decide. The paying customer gets to decide, not the therapist.
And I wanted to add a part about the, like, feeling pressured to make a decision, like, let's take leaving a partner.
Yeah.
Because that clearly in this case was just like someone weirdly having their own agenda and like forcing something on someone. And what I've learned is this can even happen. People can project onto the therapist, like, you want me to leave.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
like, I've had situations where I've like mirrored somebody, like they've said like, he's a terrible person. And I'm just like, yeah, he's behaving pretty badly towards you. And then they come back in and they're like, you're telling me I have to leave. And I'm like, whoa. So if you are feeling that and it's not as overt in this case, it is something you can talk to the therapist about and get clarity. Or like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I gotta like dial this back, but I didn't. And so, because we all have our own weird feelings about anything that we're ambivalent about, any decision.
Absolutely.
And so it's also something that you can say, like, I feel this pressure, and that with a good therapist you can talk about. And, they'll say, like, ideally, like, you don't have to do anything. And I would want someone to tell me, like, if they feel pressured or, for us to be able to talk about that. Because there's nuance in that. And I think it's really hard if somebody's holding a lot of shame or feeling, especially women. There's so much of like, I'm a weak person if I stay in this situation. And
and also if you leave him, it's a failed marriage, which is your fault, because everything's a fucking woman's fault. Yeah.
Right. It's like, it is a complex situation, and but people will pressure themselves around. I see this all the time around, like, and in groups it happens where people don't want to say what's going on with them because they're like, well, if I say it, I'm not going to fix it in a week, and the group will get really mad at me if I don't fix it in a week. Right. And it's like, that probably says something about how you were raised and how feelings were dealt with, and that might be something to explore, because good Lord, it takes most people more than a week to decide
anything they want to do and to quote unquote fix. What the fuck does that even mean?
Right. And it can be very healing to be told, like, I have a lot of patience for, you're probably going to change. I'll say to people, you're probably going to change your mind like 50 million times in front of me. And that's quite all right. It's a very complicated thing. And there is no right answer. How do I know what's right for you? I don't know.
I tell clients all the time when they quote unquote admit that their partner did something bad or that their partner is kind of a dick or whatever, I will make sure I say at least once in a session, you have permission to stay with this person for the rest of your life, and I will never judge you for that. I will support you and do it. Right? Because people need to hear that, because they think if I admit that my husband is the real asshole or that my wife is a real bitch about this, then I have to change something immediately. And so I can't admit it, which makes people like hold all of it for years. Yeah.
And that's I've started being much more, I was not as overt about that as I needed to be. And so I've been much more overt about that. The minute it's there is just like, and there is no pressure.
You can do whatever you want.
Anything about this.
Yes.
Because for people that were raised to never be allowed to sit in a feeling or to have a problem, which a lot of people, especially if you were raised by boomers, were raised that way,
Right.
it's like, that's not good. You're allowed to just sit in whatever suffering or heartache, and you don't have to do anything. Nobody has
Exactly.
to do anything.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's number 2. I don't know this person or anything about this.
I don't either. I don't know who
This
this
is one of the ones that was very hard to read. All right. So, quote, here we go. The actual horror story was about how he handled my coming out as gay. Though I didn't exactly feel ready, when I came out to my therapist, he seemed to think it was important to bring my dad in. So he, the therapist, could, quote, facilitate my coming out to my dad.
Oh, God.
He didn't actually facilitate anything at all, but sat there doing nothing while I had one of the most awkward and painful conversations I've ever had with my dad to date. I wasn't ready to say it. My dad wasn't ready to hear it. And all 3 of us lapsed into silence until my dad changed the subject. Neither my dad nor I brought up my sexuality for 4 more years when I actually had my first relationship with a woman. I spent those 4 years imagining the worst in terms of how my dad must think and feel about my sexuality. I wonder how it might have felt different if I had experienced more agency and empowerment from my therapist around how I might want to come out to my parent on my own terms. That therapist is probably in part to blame for my own decision to become a psychologist. This is how it happens, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
I remember having that thought, I could definitely do this better.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Yikes.
Terrifying. Terrifying. Horrifying.
Like, I don't even know if we need to say anything. It's so
I feel like that one speaks for itself.
Screams of like, but this happens when a therapist, what I would call this is a savior complex.
Totally.
Which is this therapist had a real big savior complex. I'm going to put on the cape and then sit and do nothing. Like,
cool.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Great. But this is the therapist needing to rush to do something.
Yes.
To feel, I don't know what they needed to feel, like they were fixing something. I don't know what was going on here, and totally barreling past consent. And like, when you think about, this is like a good scenario. This person could have gotten disowned.
Yes.
They could have like had a horrific breach in their family it's wild how badly this could have gone, and like the barreling past consent. And so if you ever, the thing that I feel like, if you ever feel like a therapist is saying to you, I know what you need, unless you are in immediate physical danger to yourself, or even then we could have ethical questions about that, but like, unless I am legally bound to like do something because you are in immediate danger to yourself, or you are going to harm someone else.
Right.
You don't have to do anything. Again, you can leave, never come back, and you don't even have to send an email.
You don't know that guy's shit.
No, this was deeply. So like, if anything, just, you don't have to do anything. Therapists don't know. Again, we don't know everything.
No.
We're just people. We're just are given a lot of authority in society, but no one knows you better than you. No one. And no one knows I always say to people, I don't know you. I don't know you better than I know you. And I certainly don't know your father. Right. Like, I'm always like, you tell me how this is going to go. You tell me when,
it's gonna be so bad.
But like, this could have, it was bad, but
it was terrible, but it could have been even worse. What if the father was a horrible, homophobic asshole? That would have been even...
Like, this to me feels like if I were on the ethics board looking at this case, this would be like the most serious, because the most serious violation is a do no harm. Really, it's insurance fraud because nobody cares about our code of ethics. But this would be like a do no harm violation.
Yes.
Like, this was harm. So you don't have to do anything a therapist says. We advise as a group, as you'll see in these horror stories, we have a lot of bad ideas.
Well, and as my yoga teacher used to say, everything is an offering. And so now that's the only verb I use. I'm going to offer. That is the only verb I use.
You may reject. You may reject my offer.
I might not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I have somebody I offered hypnosis to last week, and she was like, no, thanks. And I was like, great, that's fine. Like,
groovy. Moving on.
Moving on.
My friend, this reminds me, my friend texted me when she saw the thing of like, give your horror stories. And I told her how many we gotten and blah, blah, blah. And she just wrote, which I think is brilliant. She just wrote, it's really scary what a position of power therapists are in. Just the amount of mental and emotional manipulation that is possible to take place is astounding for the wrong people.
Yes.
Yes, girl. That's why we are sharing all
That's
this.
why we have that's why we created a podcast.
Exactly. Okay, so this one is one of those which, like, I probably shit the bed in this way, and I'm probably Lisa shit the bed in this way, and that is the perils of self-disclosure. So they try to teach us in school, like, how to do self-disclosure. Girl, there's no what. Like, you can't say when to do it and when not to do it. I know I've done it at times, and like I could feel the energy shift, and I was like, fuck. Right? And then I've done it at other times where like the energy shifted. It was exactly what they needed to hear. There is no way. But like, when it's bad, it's bad. And so here's 2 stories about it being real bad. So this is a short one. With a therapist I'd been working with for a while, only 6 months. I can't remember what I was sharing, but she started telling me a personal story that was related, but I did not want to know her personal business. It was really uncomfortable. Truth. Totally. And like, I have a story about that too, about a therapist that I didn't really want to work with anymore. And like the final straw was my mom was very sick, and she was like, when my mom died, and I was like, oh, I'm not there yet. Ready. And it was like, so to me it was so blatant, but again, I'm sure I've shit the bed in that way. The second one is this one is, I think, the funniest one out of all of them. It's pretty good.
This one is getting in for entertainment.
Yeah, and whoever wrote this, you are a very good writer, and I hope you write more. So, quote, my first therapist when I was 23 was straight out of Central Casting. He had a very chilly office that smelled of books and nondescript artwork on the walls. He wore a sweater vest every single session, even in the summer. I love that so much. He had a super low voice, and when I would bring up anything he deemed serious, he would say, quote, oh my words. That drove me nuts, of course, because it's, oh my word, singular. Love that. The horror here, though, was that he spent a good portion of my sessions talking about himself. He may have been trying to be relatable, but it all became about him. I would say that I was struggling with my boyfriend who had major undiagnosed depression, and he would say he also had depression and that his wife also struggled with it. Great. So helpful. And then he would spend 3/4 of the session telling me in detail about his issues with his wife. Wow. Okay. At the time, I didn't really know if that's how therapy was supposed to be or not, so I didn't speak up. This is like a baby person going to a therapist too, and not knowing that, like, is this what therapy is? Is this supposed to be helpful? I have a few of those in my history, both probably being the person talking about myself too much, and then also, just sitting there listening to my therapist talk about themselves.
And I have a number of people in my practice now who came from therapy. It is kind of shocking to me.
It's shocking
how often
this
happens. And then they get to me and they're like, well, this is different. Like, 'cause I never.
Right.
I mean, it's wild to me, the things that people will say. And what I wanted to say about this is the rule. So the rule, quote unquote, what's in the ethics guidelines, what we are taught, which we can't always do with 100% accuracy, which I'm going to explain that in a minute too.
Of course.
We are taught that self-disclosure should only be used when it serves the client. And sometimes we are guessing.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we think, like, but this case where someone is constantly talking about themselves, that is not, they're not even wondering about that. So you have that layer of people that are just like, I don't know. It's like, go get your own there. I don't know what they're thinking. But
maybe his wife doesn't want to listen to him anymore. Obviously.
Yeah, he's not even worried about it. But usually, like, ideally, but I used to give workshops on social media ethics for therapists, and I looked at research on like basically on like self-disclosure. This was about online self-disclosure.
Yeah.
But the research shows that the same self-disclosure, 50% of people will love and find therapeutic, 50% of people will hate. And so if first of all you are in a you can say, I don't want to know things about you.
Yes, I had a client say that, and it was so helpful.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, thank you for letting me know. Great.
Yeah, because some people, based on whatever they're for, like I have people that are like, I don't want to know nothing.
Yeah.
You're a black box. I don't want to know even the most
Great.
benign. And sometimes that will shift
Yep.
over the course of their
the
therapy. Like
relationship.
then they
Yeah.
have a higher and higher tolerance. Great.
Great.
I have learned to often ask, like, would it be helpful? I have something I could say here that's personal about me. Would that be helpful? And try to, but sometimes I don't. And sometimes I miss. And, you know, and there are certain, I've learned that like with parents, it's often really helpful if I'm like, oh yeah, my dinners with my kids are like that they don't look like, you know, Betty Crocker's dinner table. And they're like, oh, thank God. Because if you're like this, it can like reduce the shame. And so sometimes I'll just barrel right into that.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't know, and we do need you to be, because sometimes I think also people feel like they have to say, okay, yeah, but it's like, if you don't want to know anything about me, just tell me. I don't mind at all.
No,
because what
I'm
I'm really trying to serve you
right
with whatever I'm about to say, but we guess and we miss.
I've had one client be like asks me questions about me, and I'm like, okay, are you sure you want to know the answer? Right. And then, yeah, I have a client that I just worked about a year ago, and she was like, you mentioned something like her mom lived in California or something like that. And she said, you mentioned something about where your family lives. She's like, I just have found that I do better in therapy when I don't know a lot about my therapist's personal life. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to do any guessing. Great.
Right. And I even have little disclaimers, and we have very different, because I think a lot of your people may listen to this podcast, and my patients are like, no, I don't want it. They'll talk about why they don't want to listen to it.
Great.
But I even have a little disclaimer, like when I send out like articles and I'm like, my clients may not want to indulge in this. Like, don't click on this if you don't want to know anything about me, because that is absolutely, you're right. And for some people, having transparency into me is they need a lot of transparency to feel safe. And guess what? You get to decide. That is up to you. It's not about me.
It's not about exactly. Great. Okay.
All right. So here's one. We're going into the couples therapy.
We've discussed our problems with couples therapy.
We have discussed, and we're just gonna dive in a little deeper here. There were two of these. We had to pick one. We're gonna save one for later.
Okay.
Quote, my husband and I were in couples counseling, and we were going through some workbook. This week's topic was emotional intimacy, and the counselor only wanted to quiz us about how often we had sex, which is not about emotional. I mean, it is, but it's not. Anyway, it's not really
the only way to achieve emotional intimacy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's an interesting. I'm like, was there not a chapter on sexual intimacy where that would have come up? But okay, I have questions about this workbook.
Yeah,
but I digress. Quote, I tried to steer us back to the emotion part of the conversation. Stay on topic.
Good for you.
No, let's keep talking about sex frequency. And then it happened. If you do not have sex with him more often, he will leave you and find someone who will. That was our last session.
Bye, bitch.
Whew, and good on you for that being your last session. But let me tell you, I have sat in groups.
Oh God.
I mean, I talked in our last episode about consultate with where that has been said. I have sat in groups where people have been told if you don't lose weight, he will stop having. That's why you're not having sex, and then he's gonna leave. And like, it's like you better lose weight because he's not attractive to you.
Oh my God.
Therapists will say, but the mental health is never improved by telling someone that they need to barrel past their own consent. If someone is not wanting to have sex with someone else, there may be questions we might have about that. There may be things that we might be curious about that. But we do not pressure anyone to have sex that they don't want to have. That will not enhance mental health. It will lead to increased depression.
I can't. Our culture's obsession with how often people have sex. I cannot anymore with our obsession with how often people have sex. As if sex is the only way for people to be intimate. It's the only thing that keeps people together. Actually, all the studies show, you know what keeps people together? Laughter, fun, joy, which sometimes are part of sex, but it's not part of sex when this person is having sex that they don't want to have.
No, and not if you don't want to have it. And I think I've been studying and reading and thinking a lot about the patriarchal roots of couples therapy.
Girl.
And it's undeniable the extent to which this is designed to ensure that he gets you. This is rarely let's force some man to have sex with. And there are cases,
Of course.
I want to be clear, and there's nothing wrong with you, of like women having the higher libido in a relationship and the man having the lower. It's not the usual, but it does happen. And I have yet to hear of many couples therapists pressuring men. Then it's, I'm sure, all about like, oh, well, why are you depressed? And how is she contributing to your depression? And like, it's still going to be all her fault if we're in this patriarchal
Everything
model,
is a woman's fault.
Always, if you hear something in any therapy, especially a couples therapy, that makes you second guess yourself, that makes you feel like this feels really bad and I feel like I'm being asked to do something I don't want to do, I feel like I'm being dismissed, think about the patriarchal and eugenic roots of couples therapy.
Of all therapy.
They are deep and they are subtle and when you have, again, that person in authority.
Yep.
Good Lord. But this is not therapy. This is inducing someone to have worse mental health than they came in with.
Yes. Ooh, and I have a little story that combines the last two. I had a male therapist once, a straight male therapist once. And but I was talking to him about somebody I was dating years ago and our sex life and blah, blah, blah. And he disclosed something. And he said, well, it's only within like the last couple of years that me and my wife can do a quickie. I was like, whoa. First of all, how do I not picture that in my brain, which is the last thing I want to picture right now? Like, what are you doing disclosing your sex life to me? And you're a straight man, and I was very young. I was in my 20s. It was so fucking gross.
Well, and I had, just so to add to, like, I want people to get how I had a supervisor constantly disclosing his sex life with his wife to me. There were so many, and then eventually he put his hand on my knee, and I was just like, this is so. Anyway, I dealt with that. But the other pieces, I have sat in therapy training groups, many, where a man in the group will come on to a woman in the group who is often very attractive and younger and usually a newer therapist wherever they are.
Gross.
And when the woman is like, I don't want this, I'm not into this, it becomes, oh, what's that about that you're so distant, withholding, frigid, withdrawn? What's this about that you're not available? It becomes, and the old model, when you talk to the women who trained as group therapists in like the generations before us, then it was the therapist doing it. And then the whole group, what happens is the whole group turns on the woman.
Right.
And is like, why aren't you open to his advances? You're so closed off. What is I've seen it with my eyes. I've been in the room.
So nasty.
So this is like baked in. It's baked in, and it's baked into especially, male therapists, but like it's baked into the women too.
Oh, of course.
If they don't have the wherewithal to question that group, and that's a very hard thing to do when it's replicated over and over, and you have an entire group of people saying, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you approachable in this way? This is some piece of you that needs to be healed. Blech. That's a difficult thing to anyway. So we're all just baked in it, and I think it's important for us to know like the roots and how deeply it's ingrained in not every therapist, but a lot. So if you hear something like this, don't automatically go to, well, they know what they're doing, I guess he'll leave me. No, go think about who that serves.
And if you remember that everything over the past few centuries is made for and by white men and their boners, then you are more suspicious of everything that you are being told about how often you should have sex, how often you should be listening to his advances, blah, 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 blah. The whole world is made for white men and their boners. The whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including your therapy, maybe.
Maybe. You should ask. Whatever therapist you have, you should ask. How do you feel about white men and their boners? And see what
you can actually ask a couples therapist before you start. You can say what is your approach to sexual or when people have differences in libido? What is your attitude?
Yes.
That question right there will tell you a lot.
Yes,
ask that in your intake or in your little screening thing.
Right. Okay, so we had a few of these.
So many of these.
There's so many of these. I wonder, are therapists getting enough sleep? So these are all under the umbrella of therapist fell asleep on me / was bored with me / whatever. So here's 3 of them. With an intake therapist at Kaiser, the man didn't give me eye contact when I was talking about why I needed support from childhood trauma and abuse. And he looked so bored. The vibe was, this is boring and you are not important. That man needs another job. Like, if you can't make somebody feel like their problems are important, then you need another job. Yeah. This is another one. My own therapist, who I saw for a few years when I was a teenager, would sometimes start to drift off in the middle of our sessions. Very rude but human. You are being too forgiving, person who wrote this in.
Too kind. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And here's the last one, which I know there are so many of these. My first therapist would never engage with me. She just nodded her head, never gave feedback. And in one session, she kept nodding off. I must have been really boring. You guys, you're not boring. You are not boring. These people are working too much or working too hard or need more sleep, or there's nothing wrong with you. Again, if you can't make the person in front of you who's talking feel like they are important and what they're saying is important, then you need another job. That's it.
Yeah.
You're not good at your job.
The extent to which, so I know one person listening to this podcast who has a story like this. And I know another person who told me that he worked up all of his courage to go see a therapist finally, and the therapist fell asleep in the first session, like completely gone. And I will also confess, because I think that's important. I do have somebody that I ended up quitting therapy with me, and I still don't know why, and when somebody, you wonder.
Yeah.
And it was at the time when I was postpartum and I had an undiagnosed thyroid condition, and everyone was telling me, well, you're in a big body, so you're probably just lazy. There's nothing wrong. You're not sick.
Right.
I finally got diagnosed, and I was really tired at that point. I don't think I ever dozed off with her, but I wonder if there were like 2 minutes where I dozed off.
Yeah.
And you know what? I freaking fixed it. I finally, it's like,
yes,
that's
not
God. Okay. I'm still horrified if that did happen. And what I swear to God, and it's always it's male, I don't know, but the women, isn't that funny? I have a therapist who used to sleep in group all the time. And the female co-therapist was, it's something that men can get away with, but I never could. And I'm always like, why is this okay? We're paying him. Like, what in the world? And he would just be sleeping. And it's somehow, so this in this case was a woman, but there is a whole like, somehow it's okay for, the men need naps in the middle
in the middle of their workday.
I honestly, at this point in my life, would be like, I want my money back. Like, you were not here.
1,000%.
Ask for your money back, and if they don't give it to you, write a complaint to a board. Like, it's not.
There's a social work board. Yes.
And a therapist, if they are falling asleep in the middle of while they are scheduling, when you fall asleep. Don't schedule people that hour. You do not need to be paid to nap. If you have some kind of condition and you need to take a nap, you don't put people in that hour. Schedule yourself a nap. I don't schedule people when I'm doing my art or reading my book.
Right.
What are you doing?
Or if you
know. It's not okay.
Totally. Oh my God.
It's negligence and technically it's impairment.
It is impairment.
It's therapist impairment. It's and they could be drunk. Maybe they're asleep because they're drunk. Guys, it's not you. And anyone who was worth their salt, if they fell asleep once, would freaking fix it.
Fix it.
That's not acceptable. It's exploitation.
It is exploitation.
It's entitled exploitation, and it is not okay.
And it encourages the voice that most of us already have in our head, which is that my problems aren't that important. It's not that bad. I should just get over it. I should suck it up. I should blah, like all of the white supremacist boomer voices we all have in our head, which is that like our problems aren't that bad in the first place. So
and the minute someone nods up, just walk out and write them and be like, if you've paid them by credit card, be like, don't charge my card and I'm never coming back. And if they give you any riffraff, email the board, send a complaint in. It's
I would say
okay.
You're bad at your job. If you can't listen to people
you're
without
not
falling
here
asleep,
for your job.
Then
any other job on the planet, you get fired if you fall asleep. Any other job.
Exactly.
Literally. That's what happens. Why is this okay?
It's
you know
not.
what? Because white men invented this. That's why it's okay.
Well, and they
It's
didn't.
not
They
okay.
just stole it and then made it more expensive.
Yeah, I didn't know I was so mad about this. It really makes me angry.
Good.
And I think it makes me angry to like the Gen Xer inside of me who also would have sat there and been like, well, I guess I'm bored. And like,
I guess I'm
you should
boring.
indignantly be storming out. Why are we? It's like we're
so brainwashed to absorb the terrible behavior of men.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay, you have one more.
All right. When discussing my difficulty with chronic pain and migraine and a desire to explore my anxiety related to pain and impending pain, the therapist said, well, have you tried Botox? I've heard it really works. No exploration of my feelings and pain anxiety cycle. Nothing about exploring what treatments I have tried or learned about.
Yeah.
And the reason that this one, because Paula and I picked our own and we kind of ordered these. As a parent, especially as a parent, I just cannot anymore with ever have you just.
Right.
I cannot ever with have you just.
Right.
Have you just tried putting the medicine in a smoothie? Oh my, what?
Right.
Put the medicine in? It never occurred. What are you talking about?
That's like,
have you tried?
For
yes,
fat
Karen.
people, yeah. Fat people, have you tried losing weight? No, never thought about it.
Yeah.
Have you tried stop drinking?
Smaller?
Have you tried stop drinking? Never crossed my mind. Thanks so much.
I came to you because I want to stop drinking, but you mean I can just do it? It's not like I don't have to get permission or there's no law. What?
Genius.
Never
Genius.
With the have you just and like yes, like anytime therapists we might offer a solution or
Absolutely.
but it should be after. Generally, I'm doing a lot of exploration about like when did this start?
How did this
How
feel?
long has it been happening? What have you tried? What was your response to what
have
you've
you tried?
Like, what kind of solution are you looking for? Are you looking for a medication solution? Are you wanting to talk about this? Are you looking for a referral for a medical thing? And sometimes I will say, like, I think I really need you to rule this out medically, like ethically.
Yeah.
Like, that's, sure. But oh my God, please don't say, have you tried to any patients or to any parents and probably to anyone in your life
Probably.
ever, unless they're really saying, give me some things to try. But if you're using the word just, think about what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Think about it. Be like, is this something that probably my friend could have figured out? Because, oh my God.
Right.
The have you just is really frustrating to people that are suffering. It's like, yes, I tried Tylenol. I gave that a whirl.
How do you spell that? Ibuprofen? How do you spell that? Yeah.
Where do you get that? Where does one get that?
Interesting. I mean, I think it's an and, right? It's like if you are just offering, have you tried? Then that's probably not good. But if you are like, this thing just popped into my head. Can I just say I have heard that people have gotten good results from Botox. Can you, just put that in your back pocket, and then we will continue to process the pain and the anxiety and the blah blah blah. Right? It's like it's not either or. It's just that can't be the only thing.
Also,
that
you're in a therapist's office. You're not in a Botox clinic.
Right? Exactly. But I mean, I will say, like, I just told a client today, like, there's this lady who gives massages over here. You should go over there. And also, let's talk about, all of the emotional upheaval of having chronic back pain. And. Whew. All right. Thanks, guys, for sending those in. We have more, but like I said, we're going to now just sort of add these in as little tidbits in between our chit chat and our main course.
Here, do not take it as a reflection that it was not a good one. We tried to pick a sampling from kind of some categories,
but we will get
nothing is wrong
them.
with you if we didn't pick yours.
And also, if you want to give us some more, please give us some more. What the thing that this did for me was like, first of all, I realized how many fucking therapists I've been to in my life. I'm from California. I started when I was 6. And like I have a lot of horror stories that reminded me of that one time that guy said that and that, right? It's like, oh wow, we all have some. And again, because therapists are just people. We're just people.
We're just people. We
so
don't
if you
have
want
a magic line to God or anybody or anything.
No, we do not. So if you have a therapist horror story that you want to share with us, we would love to read them. And if you have questions about anything, therapist horror stories or any of our other episodes, please let us know. And, ding our bell or Why am I such
Like,
a
subscribe. We have a Substack
dumb
where you can find the
idiot
link to
about
the
this?
Google form to give us the
Yes.
horror story, the
Yes.
Instagram, the TikTok.
Right.
We're
and
everywhere.
the iTunes reviews. We love that too. So yeah, participate with us. And thank you for listening. And don't forget that there's probably nothing wrong with you. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.
This podcast and any written materials related to it represent the opinions of Paula Atkinson and Lisa Case and our guests to the show and any written materials. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship.